And, these teams that are now going not just past them, but extending further past them, they would, I think, have to go 4-0 and still get the help. And that's a lot to ask for a guy who's been on the job for 2 days, 3 days. That's a lot. But I know there's a longer commitment there to him, too. What were your first thoughts when you saw the Islanders do this on Sunday?
Well, look, I had mentioned over the past month that I felt, we were talking about this, as we usually do when we talk about the Owls. I was saying the Patrick Roy, the ugly part of that, was kind of rearing its head.
Right.
As far as the team just not playing well and just kind of falling apart, his decision-making, everything else.
Yeah.
Obviously there's old checklist marks that you put on the power play, defense, lack of scoring, all this other stuff. But again, the buck stops with the head coach. I give Darsh credit for doing this, to trying to salvage the season here. If how important is it for the Islanders to make the playoffs this year, as opposed to the other side of it, the long-term future for the team, at least for the immediate 3 to 4 years. This is Darsh's first year coming in here. Roy wasn't necessarily his guy. Is DeBoer his guy? I get all the look, DeBoer's a fantastic coach. He's a fantastic coach,
but he has the same script everywhere he goes. And that might help them in the short term, because his MO is always a huge bump when he first gets to places and always a huge crash down very quickly. Like, he wears out his welcome fast.
But
that's happened everywhere. Jersey, San Jose, Vegas, Dallas. That has happened in all of his stops. They get better immediately, but a really hard crash when the players have had enough of them.
Well, look, you're not going to turn down a guy who's going to have success for you, whether you take it in the short term, or if you get close, if you get into the Stanley Cup Finals, or if you get into the conference finals, and Pete DeBoer gets you there and he gives you a chance. I mean, the guy's going through other stuff too, whether it's been poor goaltending or, not having all the key parts, and a lot of things got to line up, and I get it. But I don't think Darsh can't turn this kind of an opportunity down. I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's unfortunate the Islanders are even in this situation. I mean, it's tough. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow if they don't get in, especially with the year that Schaefer's had. But I think that's a big problem too. The fact that the team, I always mention this too, we were going back and forth about this. This team's been anchored by an 18-year-old.
Yes.
If you take him out of this, his point production, everything that kid has brought to that team, the Islanders have a much bigger problem.
Correct. He should get, I've been through this with you about, he should get Norris votes. He should get Hart votes, to be quite honest.
Calder, Hart, give him all of them.
He should get votes in all those awards.
You take Schaefer out of that lineup this year.
Yeah.
We're probably not even talking about the Islanders.
They're not even in the discussion.
Getting a sniff at the playoffs.
They're not even in the discussion.
They've got big problems. So Roy wasn't able to fix this, obviously. Darsh gave him a chance. And then now you do ride with a guy like DeBoer. He's a good coach. He's going to have stability. And like I said, if he gets these guys closer, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I mean,
look, I do respect the fact that you're trying to win now. And I think if you went back and asked people on October the 1st, how this season was going to go up until about 3 weeks ago, they would not have believed it. And when I say that, I mean in the top 3 in the Metro, before this last slide that has put them out. And you would have to change the expectations off of all those things that have happened. And now you've had this slide. That doesn't mean that those expectations should slide. Like, this team should have made the playoffs with how they've played for the large majority of this season. And it would be,
especially
honestly, with the season you've gotten, you're going to end up wasting a really incredible rookie season from him. And honestly, aside from a couple of times where he's let go of the rope the last 2 weeks, a pretty incredible season from Sorokin as well.
But is this move really about winning right now? I don't think it is.
I do think it's 50-50. Yeah. Well, look, I think that the Islander people and Darsh particularly with the moves that he made for Shen and for Palat and moves that were these are guys for playoffs moves. If he doesn't make the playoffs, I think that's really bad for him. And obviously, ownership, they're never going to say no to a couple of extra gates.
Okay, so take that angle, right? You look at this, say you hope they're going to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
But you're in a situation that it's realistic that they're not going to make the playoffs. So
yeah, it's super realistic now.
So with a guy like DeBoer out there and a good coach, and them obviously knowing that Patrick Waugh is not the answer here,
you're playing both sides.
Yes, you have to.
And part of,
and I think the longer side, the second side of it, is the more important side of it. As much as the season, everything else, obviously you want to get in the playoffs, but as a business, as a franchise development, I think a guy like DeBoer is actually going to be a pretty damn good guy behind the bench here.
And look, and I think you heard DeBoer say that on Sunday when he spoke with the media. He goes, "I know what you guys are thinking. Probably the same thing that my family is like. Why wouldn't you just wait 2 weeks and you'll have your pick of jobs? Like, why would you take this now?" And he said Matthew Darsh, they really sold him that this was going to be the place to be.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, no matter what happens in these 4 games, in or out, beyond that, it's going to be a place that he wants to be.
Yeah.
And you like to hear those things, and it gets you excited, and you think, okay, great. Peter DeBoer has done a lot of winning in the NHL. I'm not going to sit here and say the Islanders made a bad move. And how many times have we see? Here's where, and I see them all, and we all do.
Can I say something? I wish he was coaching the Rangers.
Sure, and you've had you listen. You've been on Sully all year, and you don't like Sully, and I understand that, but I'll try to put it to you kind of this way. The fans of this team have spent a large majority of their life with stuff like this never even being a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a time when the Islanders would always hire some nobody getting their first coaching job. The guy that was going to be the most sought after coach from all the openings, who has done the most winning of anyone else who is going to be available, has decided that he wants to come here before even getting a chance to listen to all of those other teams. I think it's an indictment on how far this franchise has come in the past 10 years, et cetera. So I think that you have to look at it from that aspect too.